close your eyes for a moment. Feel the rough straw tickling your cheek. The first thing you notice isn't the light, but the smell. It's a thick, layered thing. The ghost of last night's stew, the sweat of the three bodies sharing this mattress, and something else, ... Something sharp and sour from the bucket in the corner. This is the scent of morning. This is home. You lie still, not yet ready to move. The air is cool on your face, but warm under the heavy wool blanket that covers you, your mother, and your younger brother. The three of you are a tangle of limbs on the single large straw pallet that serves as the family bed. Your father sleeps on a smaller one closer to the door, his snores a low, rumbling counterpoint to the quiet breathing beside you. This closeness isn't just for lack of space. It is for warmth. Even in the warmer months, the nights can carry a chill and the heat from your bodies. Trapped under the blanket is a small shared comfort. Let your senses drift wider. Beyond the immediate scent of sleep and straw, there is the hearth. The fire has burned down to embers, but its ghost remains in the air, a gentle, pervasive smokiness that clings to everything. It's a wood smoke, yes, but also the smell of peat, that earthy, dense fuel dug from the bog, which burns low and slow and fills the small house with its particular ancient perfume. It's a smell that gets into your hair, your clothes, the very fibers of the wooden walls. If you were to leave this place, it is the smell you would carry with you, the defining scent of your world. It is the smell of safety, of a fire kept through the night. Your mind begins to separate the other threads of scent in this tapestry. There is the faint, greasy aroma of mutton from last night's meal, a welcome richness that speaks of a good day. It mingles with the ever-present smell of old wool, damp earth from the floor, and the faint Swedish scent of dried herbs, yarrow, and meadowsweet hanging from the rafters to be used in remedies or to chase away the worst of the other smells. Because there are, of course, other smells. In the corner near the door sits the chamber pot. It is a simple wooden bucket, and its sharp ammoniac tang is a constant presence in the early morning hours. No one thinks much of it. It's a fact of life, as much a part of the room as the walls that enclose you. To us, looking back, the idea is almost unthinkable to sleep in the same room as your own waste. But for you, it is practical. The night is dark and cold, and the world outside the door is not always safe. The pot is a small compromise for security. In an hour, it will be your first chore to carry it out to the ditch that runs behind the row of houses. Until then, its scent is just another part of the morning air, a sign that the night has passed without incident. And what about the world outside? Even with the door shut and the single wooden shutter drawn tight over the window opening, the town makes its presence known. A faint, sour smell seeps through the cracks in the wattle and daub walls. It's the tannery 2 streets over. The work of turning hard animal hides into soft leather is a smelly business involving vats of urine and lime, and when the wind blows from the east, the whole neighborhood knows it. Today it is faint, almost unnoticeable to you, woven so deeply into the fabric of your daily life that you only truly notice it when it's gone. It is the smell of industry, of people making a living, just as the scent of baking bread will soon drift from the Baker S house at the end of the lane. These are the elements that greet you each day. Not one by one, but all at once in a single, complex breath. The smell of family, of fire, of food, of waste, of work. We might call it disgusting. We might recoil, imagining a world without antiseptic sprays and daily showers and sealed, sterile bathrooms. But that is our world, not this one. Here, these smells are not disgusting. They are simply true. They are the honest reality of a life lived close to the earth, close to the body, close to the fundamental processes of survival. The warmth of your mother beside you is real. The protective smokiness of the fire is real. The hunger you will soon feel in your belly is real. The pot in the corner is real. It all belongs together. So you take a slow, deep breath, not of fresh air, but of this thick, familiar air. It is the air of your life. It holds no judgment. It doesn't tell you that you are dirty, only that you are alive. The world is waking up, and soon you must wake up with it. The sounds will begin: your father's cough, your mother's stirring, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer greeting the dawn. But for this one last moment, in the quiet, in the darkness, there is only this rich, complicated, and deeply human smell. The scent of your morning. Now that you are awake, the first act of the day is not to wash, at least not in the way we might think. You rise from the shared pallet, the cool air raising goosebumps on your arms, and reach for your clothes. The most important garment, the one that lies at the very heart of your sense of personal cleanliness, is your shift. It's a simple, long shirt of linen, perhaps reaching your knees or your ankles. You've slept in it, and now you will wear it all day, hidden beneath your woolen tunic or kirtle. This might seem strange to us, this sleeping and living in the same undergarment, but the linen itself is the technology. Linen, made from the fibers of the flax plant, is a remarkable fabric. It is absorbent and breathable, and its primary job is to protect your more expensive, harder-to-clean woolen outer clothes from your body. All the sweat, the oils, the grime of a day's work, the linen shift soaks it up. It is your personal barrier against the world, and the world's barrier against you. While you may only own 2 or 3 of these shifts, they are washed far more frequently than anything else you wear. The weekly or bi-weekly laundry day, a major chore involving lye soap made from ash and animal fat, is focused almost entirely on these essential undergarments. The feeling of putting on a clean shift one that has been scrubbed, beaten against river stones, and laid out on a bush to bleach in the sun is a profound pleasure. It is the feeling of being truly clean. What about a bath? The full body immersion in hot water is a luxury, not a routine. It's something that happens, perhaps, a few times a year. In the summer, you might go down to the river with the other women and girls, wading into the cool water to scrub your skin. But this is as much a social activity as it is about hygiene. In the winter, a bath is a significant undertaking. Water must be hauled from the well or river, bucket by heavy bucket. It must be heated over the fire, a process that takes time and precious fuel. Then, a wooden tub is brought into the middle of the room, and the family might take turns using the same water from oldest to youngest. For a more special occasion, or if you had the coin, you might visit the public bathhouse or stew. These were common in larger towns, offering hot baths, steam, and sometimes even food and drink. They were social hubs, places to gather and talk. But they were also viewed with suspicion by the church, seen as dens of idleness and immorality. So, for most people, for you, cleanliness is not about a daily dousing in water. It is managed in smaller, more practical ways. Each morning you will go to a wooden bowl or a basin that sits on a stool. Using a pitcher of cold water, you will wash your hands and face. This is a crucial non-negotiable ritual. Your hands, especially, must be clean before you handle food or begin your work. You might use a small piece of coarse soap, or simply rub your hands together vigorously in the water before drying them on a rough linen towel. This small act of washing your face and hands is a way of greeting the day, of separating yourself from the slumber of the night. Then there is the matter of your hair. It is long, as is the custom for women, and it is a constant battleground. Lice and fleas are not a sign of personal failure. They are an unavoidable part of life, like the mud on the street or the smoke in the air. Everyone has them, from the lowest beggar to the highest lord. Your defense is a fine-toothed comb, carefully carved from bone or wood. Every evening, or perhaps every few days, you or your mother will sit and meticulously comb through your hair, section by section, scraping out the tiny insects and their eggs. It's a slow, patient process, a quiet ritual of care. To keep the pests at bay, you might rub your scalp with infusions of herbs like lavender or rosemary, their pleasant scent a welcome bonus in the fight. During the day, your hair is always kept plaited and pinned up, covered by a coif or a veil when you leave the house. This isn't just for modesty. It's a practical defense, keeping your hair clean and out of the way of fire, food, and opportunistic pests. And what of your smile? You want to present a pleasant face to the world, and that includes your breath. There are no toothbrushes, no minty pastes. Your dental tool is a piece of rough cloth, sometimes dipped in a mixture of salt and powdered herbs like sage or mint. You rub your teeth firmly with it, scrubbing away what you can. To sweeten your breath, you might chew on a parsley leaf, a fennel seed, or a clove. But despite these efforts, dental health is poor. Diets heavy in coarse, stone-ground grains wear down the enamel, and sugary foods like honey are a rare but potent enemy. A toothache is a dreaded affliction, often leading to an agonizing extraction by the local barber surgeon, with no anesthetic but a swig of strong ale. Many older people, and even some young ones, have gaps in their smiles. It is a simple, accepted fact of getting older. So you see, the concept of being clean is not absent. It's just different. It's a practical, ongoing effort defined by different standards and achieved with different tools. It's about managing the inevitable grime of life, not eliminating it. It's the crispness of laundered linen, the tidiness of braided hair, the fresh scent of herbs, and the ritual washing of hands. It's a human desire, as potent then as it is now, to feel put together, to feel decent, to present your best self to the world, even when that world is filled with dust and dirt. It's a strange thought, isn't it? To feel clean not because of water, but because of fresh linen against your skin. The crisp, sun-bleached fabric is your armor and your comfort. What small ritual in your own life makes you feel clean and ready for the day? It's these little human moments that connect us across the centuries. If you're enjoying this journey back in time, perhaps you could subscribe so you don't miss our next story. I'd love to read your thoughts on this in the comments below. With your hands and face washed and your outer clothes on, your attention turns to the hearth, the heart of the home and the center of your world of food. This is your kitchen. There is no counter, no sink with running water, just the fire pit in the center of the room. Or perhaps built into a wall with a few iron pots, a tripod, and some simple wooden utensils. It is here that the daily miracle of turning raw, often unpromising ingredients into sustenance takes place. And the taste of that sustenance is a world away from our own. Let's begin with the cornerstone of your diet, bread. You likely do not bake it yourself. The risk of fire means that most households are forbidden from having their own ovens. Instead, you take your dough to the communal baker, who charges a fee to bake it in his large, hot oven. The bread you get back is dark, heavy, and dense. But it's the texture that might surprise us most. When you bite into a piece, you feel a distinct grittiness, a faint crunch of sand between your teeth. This isn't an accident or a sign of poor quality. It's an unavoidable consequence of the milling process. The massive stones used to grind the grain into flour slowly wear away, depositing tiny flecks of stone and sand into the flour itself. You are so used to this texture that you barely notice it. It's simply the way bread is. Hanging over the fire or sitting on a tripod above the glowing embers is the cauldron. Inside it is the pottage. This is the other pillar of your diet, a dish that is never truly finished. It is, in essence, a perpetual stew. Each day, new ingredients are added to whatever was left over from the day before. The base is usually oats or barley, cooked in water until it forms a thick, soupy gruel. Into this you add whatever you have. Today it might be some onions and a handful of tough greens from your small garden plot. Yesterday, perhaps you were able to add a few scraps of bacon for flavor. The pot is rarely ever fully scraped clean. The remnants of old meals simmer away, mingling with the new, creating a complex, ever-evolving flavor. On a good day, the pottage is savory and filling. On a lean day, it is a bland, watery sustenance meant only to fill a hollow stomach. It is the taste of continuity, the flavor of making do. Meat and fish are a luxury, a symbol of feast days and relative wealth. Without refrigeration, preserving them is a constant battle against decay. The primary weapons in this fight are salt, smoke, and air. A side of bacon or a string of fish will hang from the rafters, blackened and hardened by weeks in the smoke of your hearth. The smoke infuses the meat with a powerful, acrid flavor and keeps the flies at bay. For longer-term storage, salting is key. Meat or fish is packed in barrels between thick layers of coarse gray salt, which draws out the moisture and makes the flesh inhospitable to rot. When you are ready to cook it, the meat must be soaked for hours, sometimes days, to draw out the intense saltiness. Even so, the flavor is overpowering. Spices, for those who can afford them, are not just for creating pleasant flavors. They are for disguising unpleasant ones. A pinch of precious black pepper, a clove, or some ginger can work wonders on a piece of meat that is just beginning to turn. It's slightly off, gamey taste masked by the powerful aromatic compounds of the spice. This is why the food of the wealthy could be so heavily spiced. It was a sign of their riches. Yes, but also a practical tool for making their stores of preserved food more palatable. You learn to read your food carefully. You sniff it, inspect it for mold or maggots. A little mold on the edge of the bread can be scraped off. A slightly sour smell from the meat might be cooked away. You develop an intimate, practical knowledge of the fine line between edible and spoiled, a skill born of necessity. And what do you drink with this gritty bread and salty meat? Water is a risky proposition. The same river that you might draw water from is also the place where the tanneries dump their waste, where the butchers discard offal, and where the town's drainage ditches often empty. The local well might be cleaner, but it too can be contaminated, a source of the dreaded dysentery or the flux that can sweep through a neighborhood with deadly speed. You learn from a young age not to trust the water unless it has been boiled. So you drink ale. Everyone drinks ale. From your father down to your youngest sibling, a cup of small beer is the drink of choice with every meal. This isn't the strong, intoxicating ale we might think of today. Small beer, or small ale, is made from the second or third rinsing of the malted grains, resulting in a drink with a very low alcohol content, likely less than 1%. It is cloudy, nutritious, full of B vitamins from the yeast, and most importantly, safe. The process of boiling the water during brewing kills the dangerous microbes, making it a far healthier choice than a cup of cold water from the well. It is watery, slightly sweet, and slightly sour, the taste of safety and hydration. For you, the taste of ale is the taste of home, of family meals, as commonplace and essential as the bread on the table. This is your culinary world. It is a world of intense flavors, salt, smoke, sourness, spice. It is a world of challenging textures, gritty, tough, and coarse. It is governed not by desire, but by necessity. Not by recipes, but by the relentless cycle of seasons and the constant, quiet threat of hunger and rot. Every meal is a small victory against scarcity, a testament to the ingenuity required to simply survive. There are aspects of your life, woven into the very fabric of your being, that are rarely spoken of in mixed company. They are a woman's knowledge, a woman's burden, and a woman's strength, passed down from mother to daughter, from neighbor to neighbor, in quiet tones and knowing glances. This is the private, visceral reality of your body in a world that offers it little comfort and even less understanding. Your monthly bleeding, your flowers, as it is sometimes delicately called, is a time of quiet management. There are no disposable products, no neatly packaged solutions. Your tools are simple and reusable, scraps of old linen, folded into pads, or perhaps handfuls of soft, dried sphagnum moss gathered from the nearby bog. The moss is remarkably absorbent, a small gift from the earth. These pads are held in place by a simple belt or tucked into your undergarments. It is an imperfect system. You are always conscious of the possibility of leaks, of the metallic scent of blood. The pads must be washed secretly, rinsed in cold water in a bucket, and then scrubbed and boiled when you do the laundry, away from the eyes of men. This monthly cycle is shrouded in more than just cloth. It is shrouded in belief and taboo. The church teaches that you are unclean during this time, a daughter of Eve inheriting her curse. You might be forbidden from certain sacred spaces, from touching holy relics, or even, in some parishes, from receiving communion. There is a weight to it, a sense of being set apart, of your body's natural rhythm being a source of ritual impurity. You learn to carry this weight quietly. You learn to navigate the physical discomfort, the cramps, the aches with herbal teas made from raspberry leaf or yarrow, remedies your mother taught you. It is a private, recurring trial, a monthly reminder of the unique and often difficult path your life as a woman must follow. But all the discomfort of your monthly courses pales in comparison to the single greatest trial and terror of a woman's life: childbirth. From the moment you are married, it is an event that looms in your future, a moment of profound hope and equally profound fear. You have seen it many times. You have been the young girl sent to fetch water, the teenager holding a laboring woman's hand, the neighbor murmuring prayers outside a closed door. You know what it entails. Pregnancy itself is a state of uncertainty, guided by folklore and the wisdom of older women. There are no doctors to consult, no scans to see the child within. You carry on with your work, your heavy lifting and endless chores until the pains begin. When your time comes, your small, smoky house is transformed. It becomes a sacred, exclusively female space. The wooden shutters are closed, the door barred to all men. The room is kept deliberately dark and warm, an attempt to create a womb-like space to welcome the new life. The air grows thick with the scent of sweat, fear, and brewing herbs. You are not alone. You are surrounded by a community of women, your mother, your aunts, your neighbors, and most importantly, the midwife. She is not a trained medical professional in our sense. She is an older woman from the village, her knowledge a messy, invaluable collection of experience. Herbal remedies and deeply ingrained superstition. Her hands are not sterile. Nothing in the room is. She guides you, her voice a low murmur of encouragement and command. She may offer you a potion of herbs to strengthen your contractions or ease the pain, its effectiveness a matter of faith. The pain is a tide, rising and falling, and you grip a rope slung over a rafter or cling to the hands of the women beside you. There is no epidural, no anesthetic. There is only your own endurance and the collective strength of the women in the room. They murmur prayers to Saint Margaret, the patron saint of childbirth, and whisper folk charms to ward off evil spirits that might try to harm you or the baby. The midwife's tools are her hands, perhaps a small knife for cutting the cord, and her instincts. She may try to turn a badly positioned baby, a dangerous and excruciating maneuver. If the labor stalls, her options are terrifyingly limited. Instruments are a last, brutal resort, often resulting in the death of the child and severe injury to the mother. Everyone in that room knows the stakes. They have all lost sisters, cousins, friends in this very act of creation. The line between life and death has never been thinner. You are laboring not just to bring forth a child, but in a battle for your own survival. A retained placenta, a hemorrhage, an infection from an unwashed hand, any of these can be a death sentence in the days that follow. But then, if all goes well, there is the moment of release. A final, earth-shattering push, and the baby is born into the midwife's waiting hands wet, slippery and miraculously alive. The first cry cuts through the thick, tense air, and a wave of exhausted relief washes over the room. The child is quickly wiped, the cord tied and cut, and then it is wrapped tightly in swaddling clothes and given to you. Its small, warm weight against your chest, the greatest prize imaginable. You have done it. You have crossed the valley of the shadow of death and emerged on the other side. You are now a mother. The women around you smile, their faces slick with sweat in the dim candlelight. They begin the work of cleaning up, of tending to you, their quiet, competent movements a testament to this ancient female ritual. And in that moment, surrounded by the scent of blood and sweat and fear, you are part of a chain of women stretching back into the darkness of time. Each one of them faced this same trial, the same terrifying, beautiful ordeal. It's a profound thought. The things we now take for granted were once matters of life and death. If this story is resonating with you, please consider sharing it with a friend who appreciates history. And I wonder, what aspect of modern health are you most grateful for? Let me know in the comments. Now let's step outside. You pull your cloak a little tighter, take a firm grip on your market basket, and push open the heavy wooden door of your home. The air that greets you is a shock, a sudden, overwhelming wave of smells and sounds that makes the thick atmosphere of your own small house seem almost fresh by comparison. This is the street. This is the living, breathing, and often disgusting artery of your town. The first thing you must learn is how to walk. There is no smooth, paved sidewalk, no neat curb. The street is simply the earth, packed down by the passage of countless feet, hooves, and cartwheels. It is a treacherous landscape. After a rain, it transforms into a slick, ankle-deep morass of mud, a thick, brown sludge that tries to pull the patent-azure protective wooden overshoes right off your feet. You learn to walk with a careful, deliberate tread, your eyes constantly scanning the ground ahead. The mud is not just mud, of course. It is a rich and foul soup of dirt, animal dung, and discarded refuse. Animals are everywhere. They are not neatly confined to farms in the countryside. They live here in the town, alongside people. Pigs, the town's unofficial sanitation department, roam freely, snuffling through the gutters and rooting for anything edible in the piles of garbage. Chickens scrabble in the dirt, and dogs of indeterminate breed dart between legs. A wealthy merchant might ride by on a horse, its iron-shod hooves striking sparks on the rare cobblestones, leaving behind a steaming pile of dung that will simply be trodden into the mire with everything else. You learn to read the path, to anticipate the lurch of a cart and the sudden scamper of a pig. Walking through the town is a skill, a dance of constant vigilance. As you make your way down the narrow lane, you stay close to the buildings. The upper stories of the houses jut out over the street, creating a sort of canyon that traps the smells and muffles the light. This overhang also provides some small measure of protection from another daily hazard, the things that come from above. Without a system for waste collection, households dispose of their refuse in the most direct way possible. A window shutter creaks open above you, and a sharp cry rings out, "Gardez-le!" It's a warning, a corruption of the French phrase "gardez-l'eau," meaning watch out for the water. You have a split second to press yourself against the wall as a cascade of dirty dishwater, vegetable peelings, and perhaps even the contents of a chamber pot splashes onto the street where you were about to step. It is disgusting, yes, but it is also efficient. The street is the sewer. The rain, when it comes, is the only thing that will wash it all away, sluicing the filth down to the nearest ditch or river. The general underlying smell of mud and waste is punctuated by more specific, localized stenches that tell you exactly where you are. As you turn a corner, the air grows sharp and acrid, catching in the back of your throat. This is the street of the tanners. Here, men work in open-fronted workshops, scraping and treating animal hides. The smell is a chemical assault of stale urine, which was collected and used for its ammonia, and the harsh scent of lime used to dehair the pelts. It's a powerful, eye-watering stench of preservation and decay, and you hurry past, breathing through your mouth. A little further on, that smell gives way to something else, something metallic and rotten. This is the shambles, the street of the butchers. The air is thick with the smell of blood and raw meat. Animal carcasses hang from hooks in the open air, buzzing with flies. The butchers work right there on the street, hacking apart cows and sheep on massive wooden blocks. The ground beneath your feet is slick with blood and scraps of fat. The gutters run red. They throw the offal, the guts, heads, and other unwanted parts into a central pile to be picked at by dogs and pigs, or carted away eventually to a refuse heap outside the town walls. The smell is one of visceral, unavoidable carnality, a stark reminder of where your food comes from. Overarching all of this, a constant haze hangs in the air. It's the smoke from hundreds of small hearths and workshops, burning wood and cheap, sulfurous sea coal. This smoke stains the buildings a grimy gray and creates a permanent, hazy twilight, even on a sunny day. It irritates your eyes and lungs, a constant, gritty seasoning on every breath you take, and yet, this is not hell, this is your town. Amidst the filth and the stench, there is vibrant life. You hear the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, a sound of creation and purpose. You smell the reassuring, wholesome scent of baking bread wafting from the baker's lane, a promise of warmth and sustenance. You hear the chatter of neighbors greeting each other, the laughter of children playing a game with stones, the cry of a merchant advertising his wares. Your world is not sanitized. It is raw, unfiltered, and intensely alive. Navigating its streets requires a strong stomach and a watchful eye, but it is also an act of community, a shared experience. Everyone you see is walking this same messy path. You are all in it together. In your world, good health is not a guarantee. It is not even an expectation. It is a fragile, precious state of balance, a temporary blessing that can be upset by a change in the weather, a bad piece of meat, or simply the will of God. When sickness comes, it is a profoundly personal and often terrifying experience, a battle fought with strange remedies against an enemy you cannot see. The learned physicians and even the local wise woman you are more likely to consult. Understand the body as a small kingdom governed by four essential substances, the four humors. There is blood, which is hot and wet, like the springtime air. There is phlegm, which is cold and wet, like a winter rain. There is yellow bile, hot and dry like a summer afternoon, associated with anger and choler. And there is black bile, cold and dry like the autumn earth, which brings melancholy and sadness. To be healthy is to have these four humors in perfect harmonious balance. Every illness, from a simple cough to a raging fever, is seen as a disruption of this balance. A fever means you have an excess of blood, too much heat and moisture. A lingering cough suggests a surplus of phlegm, too much cold and wetness. The entire practice of medicine, as you know it, is dedicated to restoring this delicate equilibrium. Imagine you fall ill with a fever. Your skin is hot to the touch, your head aches, and you feel a fire within you. Your mother would send for the barber surgeon, a man whose skills range from cutting hair to pulling teeth and performing minor operations. He arrives not with a stethoscope or a thermometer, but with a keen eye and a set of simple, intimidating tools. After examining you, listening to your complaints, and perhaps studying the color of your urine, he declares that your blood is in excess. The cure, therefore, is simple and logical. Some of that excess blood must be removed. This is bloodletting. It is not seen as a brutal act, but as a necessary and gentle correction. The barber surgeon will take a small, sharp tool called a fleam and, with a quick tap, make a neat incision in the crook of your arm. He holds a special bowl beneath it, often marked with lines to measure the quantity, and watches as your dark, warm blood flows out. He is not trying to drain you. He's trying to release the pressure, to cool the fire within. As the bowl fills, you might indeed feel a sense of lightheadedness, a faintness that is interpreted as the fever beginning to break. For a more localized pain, he might use leeches. He would place the small, wriggling creatures on the afflicted area, and you would feel a tiny pinch as they latch on, their saliva numbing the spot as they do their work, slowly and gently drawing out the bad blood from the source of the pain. If you were to suffer a serious wound, perhaps a deep gash from a farming tool, the immediate danger is not the wound itself, but the bleeding. To stop it, the most effective method is cauterization. The tip of an iron poker is heated in the fire until it glows a terrifying orange red. Then, with you held down firmly, it is pressed against the open wound. The searing pain is indescribable, a white-hot agony that blots out everything else, and the smell of your own burning flesh fills the air. But in that horrific moment, the bleeding stops. The fire has sealed the wound, creating a hard, black scab that walls it off from the world. It is a brutal, desperate act, but it can save your life. The true fear, however, comes in the days that follow. You watch the wound with a knot of dread in your stomach. Will it heal cleanly, or will it become corrupted? A simple scratch from a thorn bush while gathering firewood can be a death sentence. You see it begin. The skin around the cut becomes red, then swollen and puffy, hot to the touch. A thick, yellow pus begins to weep from it. This is the poison taking hold, the corruption spreading up your limb. There are no antibiotics to stop it. You can only apply poultices of herbs and pray as the infection consumes you from the inside out. This landscape of pain is visible all around you. You see people with the puckered scars of survived smallpox, the red plague. You step aside for the leper, a figure cloaked and hooded, ringing a small bell to warn of their approach. Their disease has thickened their features, claimed their fingers, and made them an outcast, feared and pitied in equal measure. Sickness is not hidden away in sterile white hospitals. It lives with you, on the streets, in your home, a constant visible reminder of the body's fragility. And then there is the terror that eclipses all others. The one that comes not as a personal ailment, but as a sweeping, unstoppable judgment upon all of mankind. You hear whispers from travelers, tales of a pestilence in the east that kills so fast, there is no time to bury the dead. Then it arrives in your own country. The first sign is a swelling in the groin or the armpit, a hard, painful lump called a bubo, which gives the Black Death its name. Then the fever begins, followed by the dark blotches under the skin. The end comes swiftly, within days. The disease moves through your town like a phantom, invisible and invincible. You watch your neighbors sicken and die. You see the death carts piled high with bodies. The social fabric unravels. The fields lie untended, the church bells fall silent. It feels like the end of the world, a time when God has hidden his face and abandoned his people to a suffering so immense it is beyond all understanding. And so you live with a kind of quiet acceptance, an understanding that your body is a fragile vessel, subject to forces you cannot see or understand. You place your faith in herbal remedies, in the wisdom of the humors, in the power of prayer, and in the sheer, stubborn resilience of your own will to live. It gives us a new perspective on our own time, doesn't it? If you have questions or thoughts you'd like to share, please join the conversation below. And if you'd like to support our channel and help us create more stories like this, subscribing is the best way to do so. In your world, death is not a stranger. It does not wait politely in a sterile, white room at the end of a long life. It is a neighbor. It lives in the house next door, it walks the muddy streets alongside you, and its shadow falls across every cradle and every feast table. Life is a flickering candle flame, easily snuffed out, and you have learned from your earliest days to live in its beautiful, uncertain light, always aware of the darkness that surrounds it. This lesson is taught most painfully and most often in the quiet grief for the little ones. You have seen it many times. A baby is born, a miracle of breath and warmth, but struggles through its first winter, its small body too fragile for the cold and the scarcity. A toddler, just learning to run, is taken by a sudden, consuming fever. It is a sorrow so profound it hollows out a space in your heart. But it is a familiar sorrow. Nearly every family you know has a story like this, a small grave in the churchyard marked with a simple wooden cross or a river stone. When a child dies, there is a deep and aching grief, but there is no shock. There is no sense of a world turned upside down, because the world is already known to be a place where this happens. The high, sweet-sounding soul bell might ring from the church tower, a brief, piercing tribute to a life that barely began. You learn to carry these small ghosts with you, a quiet acceptance of life's fragility that is born of heartbreaking experience. A large family is a hedge against this inevitable loss. Having many children is a hope that some will survive. When an adult's life comes to an end, it is not a private, medical event. It is a communal, spiritual journey. The dying person is not isolated. They are at home in their own bed, surrounded by the sights and sounds of their life. As their breath grows shallow, family and neighbors gather. They murmur prayers, light candles, and hold a hand, ensuring no one has to face the final threshold alone. Once death arrives, the work of the community continues. The women of the neighborhood will gently wash and shroud the body, a final act of care for someone they have known their whole lives. The corpse is laid out in the main room of the house for the wake and for a day and a night. People come to sit with the deceased, to pay their respects, to share food and drink, and to comfort the grieving. It is a solemn but social affair, a testament to the bonds that held your community together. The funeral itself is a public procession. The body, on a simple wooden bier, is carried from the home, through the very streets where the person lived and worked, to the church. The priest leads the way, and the whole village might follow. The tolling of the church bell, a slow, deep clang for each year of the person's life, echoes across the fields. It is a sound that makes everyone stop what they are doing for a moment and remember. You are burying not just a body, but a piece of the town's shared history. But there is another, much grimmer way that death shows its face in public. It can be a form of theater, a brutal spectacle for all to see. When a criminal is sentenced to hang, the day of the execution is a public event. People flock to the market square as if for a fair. There is a strange, unsettling atmosphere of excitement, piety, and fear. You might see a peddler selling pies, children wriggling to get a better view, and somber citizens murmuring about the nature of the crime. The gallows stands stark against the sky. The condemned is paraded through the crowd, perhaps offered a final chance to confess their sins to the priest. They might be allowed to give a final speech, their words carrying over the hushed crowd. The moment of death is swift and horribly public. It is meant as a stark warning to all. This is the price of breaking the King-S law and Goddess commandments. It is a brutal lesson in justice, performed for everyone to witness, ensuring that the power of the authorities and the consequences of sin are never forgotten. Death in this context is not just a loss or a passage. It is a tool of power, a public, grisly, and unforgettable performance. And so we take a step back, out of the mud and the smoke, away from the stench and the suffering. We leave you there, standing in the half-light of your medieval world, and we return to our own. It is easy, from the comfort of our time, to look back and see only the grime, to be repulsed by the smells, horrified by the sickness, and saddened by the constant presence of death. It was a world of hardship, a life of endless, wearying labor against the forces of decay and scarcity. And all of that is true, but it is not the whole truth. To believe that life was only suffering is to misunderstand the profound resilience of the human spirit. It is to forget that joy, beauty, and peace are not dependent on sterile surroundings or modern comforts. They are small, hardy flowers that can grow in the rockest of soil. So where did you find your peace? Where, in this landscape of grime, did you find your moments of grace? You found it in the simple, profound pleasure of warmth on a cold night, huddled with your family under a wool blanket, the fire burning low. You found it in the taste of the first piece of bread from a new batch, its crust still warm from the baker's oven, the gritty texture of familiar comfort. You tasted it in the sweetness of an apple, crisp and fresh in the autumn, or in a spoonful of precious honey, a rare treat that lit up your senses. You felt it on your skin in the singular delight of a clean linen shift, the fabric sun-bleached, and smelling of the open air, a feeling of renewal that was worth all the labor of laundry day. You heard it in the distant, rhythmic tolling of the church bell, a sound that marked your days and connected you to your community and to God. You heard it in the shared laughter with a neighbor over a fence, or in the sound of your own voices rising together in song in the evening, a simple melody to pass the time and lighten the heart. These moments were not distractions from reality. They were the reality. They were the proof that life, even when it was hard, was also good. The people of the past were not so different from us. They loved their children, they feared pain, they sought comfort, and they found joy in the small, fleeting, beautiful things. To remember their hardship is to honor their struggle, but to remember their joy is to honor their humanity. And in that shared humanity, across all the centuries that separate us, we can find a deeper connection. And perhaps a deeper sense of gratitude for the world we inhabit now.